Hi, everyone. Recently we've been talking about stress, and hopefully you're noticing when stress occurs, right? Because that's one of the first steps to helping to deal with it. And when we talk about stress, often it gets a really bad connotation. Like, we often have too much stress and it can put us at risk for different diseases. But some stress in our lives, a little bit, is good because it does motivate us to do things. And stress is there. That whole response is there to save our lives. It's just that often we have too many little stressors, which cause a big stress response, or we have a big stressor in our life, or even more than one, right? That happens. I remember one time, this is like 20 years ago, I was ending a relationship. My dad had just had a heart attack and was in the hospital, so I had to go out of town to visit him. I was trying to buy my first home, and I was starting a doctoral program. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what else could happen? And it was almost funny in a way, but I had to realize that those were big stressors. Any one of those is a big stressor, but to have like four of them happening at once, but I just remember that as a very, very stressful time. But even now, when you're a student and you're managing your courses, managing maybe family responsibilities, you're doing things to take care of yourself. This class is an elective. Most of you didn't have to take it. Maybe some are taking it because they needed a unit, but you didn't have to take it. So also, this class could even be a stressor. And I realized that, and I notice these feelings that I have as being a health educator, like having you do your behavior change projects and wanting to grade those, but also not wanting to stress to give you more things that stress you out, but yet it's a college class, so it's a really interesting place for even me to be in, and I notice these feelings. Um, so I just hope that you give yourself time to go through our readings and videos. And if you haven't been doing it yet, give yourself time now with these next few weeks to set up a meditation practice, to also practice your behavior change, because some of you don't have a meditation practice as a behavior change. You're doing something to decrease your stress. So make sure you're doing your behavior change. And if you're not, notice, well, what are the obstacles that are occurring? Why are you not doing it? And what could you do to bring more of it into your life, right? The reason I had some of you, I said, okay, for your behavior change, it doesn't just have to be about mindfulness, a mindfulness practice, although I think that's great. I know that time management is really key. And when people don't have good time management skills, that adding that to your life can make a big difference now, but also going forward with your semesters or years as a student. And so that's why I said for some of you, you could set up 30 minutes 3 times a week to organize your study space, to clean, because just having clean and organized space decreases stress. And it also helps you with knowing what you have to do. If you have a to-do list, if you've been managing your calendar, your day planner, and planning out blocks of when you're going to study for your different classes, that's a great way to relieve stress because you know what you need to do generally. It doesn't surprise you. Sure, things get missed sometimes, but it helps you be better organized, which decreases stress. So that's why I really put that in there. Um, Also, if that is your goal, then turning off your phone, turning off electronics. I think it's okay to set an alarm saying, okay, and I do that sometimes. I'm like, okay, you're going to clean or you're going to read for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is, and just setting a clock so that way I'm focused on what I want to do and not looking at the clock or worried about that. Mhm. So I hope everyone's starting their behavior change and it's going well. But remember, steps forward, step back, step forward, step back. It's the way a process of behavior, of making a behavior change goes. Mhm. So some of you are working on decreasing stress, and a mindfulness practice can help with that too. Sometimes it adds a little more stress because it feels like it's something else you need to do, but stay with it because the benefits of how it opens up your mind, your experiences, stay with it because it can help decrease stress over time. And here's one way that happens. We have this storytelling mind. And we don't want to believe our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are not always real. We might be remembering something that happened and that's real, but often we have thoughts and we tell ourselves stories, and this stresses us out. But we can notice with mindfulness practice, oh, that's just a story. Hey, that's never happened. And that has a way over time, as we develop this skill and we practice this skill, it has a way to help decrease stress sometimes. And that's really what the module I think 3 and 4, 4 and 5 are really about. It's noticing these things, right? These stories that we tell. Um, we can't avoid stressful experiences. We can't fully take them away from our lives, but sometimes we can manage them skillfully. And we have the STOP um, acronym, and that's going to be coming up in a module here for you. This technique is called STOP. The S is for stop. So you stop for just a moment. Say even when you feel stress or something's happening and you notice emotions coming up. It could be anger. S is for stop. Take a moment. Try not to react and give yourself the gift of a little reflection time. T is take a breath, because just that act of a nice deep breath and a slow exhalation can help relax the body by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So breathe in, breathe out, track your breath in and out if you can, or sense the chest rising and falling. The O is to observe your experience. Notice sensations in the body. Notice thoughts or stories that your mind might be telling, and appreciate that these thoughts are not facts. I know that's kind of a hard thing. And so it's really what mindfulness has brought me, is when my mind starts twirling, my mind starts going on negative things, I'm a planner and I'm like, oh, this could happen or this can happen, so I better do this. These are not things that have ever happened. So when I can notice that happening, oh, I can come back to the moment. That's not true. That hasn't happened. It might never happen. So observe your experience, explore emotions, maybe notice where those emotions are in the body. And then P is proceed. Move forward in a way that feels right for you. So that's the technique. It's called STOP, and we're going to have it coming up in a module here. So S, stop. T, take a breath. O, observe what's going on in your experience. And P, proceed with caution and care and kindness. And along with that, our mind wandering, telling stories. And here we are trying to meditate, and we're trying to focus on our anchor. And a reminder, anchors can be the breath. Anchor could be a whisper of a word like ease or peace or harmony, just a whisper of it. It could be sounds, which we'll practice today. It could be those body sensations. I think I talked about that last week. So some people might like to concentrate on body sensations, hand, foot, foot. But we're practicing with our anchor, and then our mind starts twirling on, oh, I have to go do this for class. Oh, what if I don't do it? I could get this bad grade. What if I got a bad grade? Oh no, my financial aid could be, in jeopardy. So our mind starts to go down this path. But we're practicing mindfulness. We go, oh, worrying. And we come back to our anchor, whatever that is for you. And we come back to our anchor 1,000 times. And that's what being mindful is. And so I know I've been saying this, presenting information about mindfulness in many different ways. And it's because certain times we're ready, we're receptive to the information. sometimes we're not, or you might have missed a lecture or didn't read something. So I really want to repeat this because it's mindfulness isn't having a blank mind. Mindfulness isn't easy. It's a practice, and we all go through this. So when your mind wanders, try not to be judgy. Just go, oh, that was mindfulness. I noticed my mind wandering. I noticed my mind planning. I noticed my mind worrying. I noticed my mind creating. Oh, that was a moment of mindfulness. It's helpful to label it, at least for me, and then come back to the anchor again and again and again. So today we're going to use a technique of sound, and we're going to practice that as an anchor. It's nice to practice using these different types of tools or techniques for anchors because different things will work for different people. And so sound is really nice because sound brings us into the present moment. When you hear a sound, it's not a sound that you heard before, or it's not a sound coming up in the future. Hearing something is right there in the moment. And that's why we work on the breath so much. And I talk about the breath because it's always with us. So that's why the breath is offered. But the breath isn't the right anchor for everyone. If someone has asthma or emphysema or some type of trauma to their body, or they just can't feel it, that's okay, right? We're all different. So you give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, then you look for the body sensations, the hand, the feet points. Um, or you use a soft, gentle word. Or you can use sounds. And some of you have already told me that, oh, that you like the sounds, that seems to work really well for you. And I'm happy about that. It's also using another sense. So when we are feeling, like feeling the breath, that's one of our sensations that we're using, or feeling the body points. Those are using, right, one of our senses. And so using sound is just another way to use a sense to help us come into the moment. So we're using soundscapes. I love that term, soundscapes. I love this metaphor here. So it's waterfall. So a waterfall metaphor can be really useful here for when we feel overwhelmed by the unending torrent of negative thoughts. And this happens to us here and there where it's negative thoughts coming in, and that can add to our stress. So sometimes it can feel hopeless and bleak to sit with a stream of difficult thoughts, like standing at the bottom of a giant waterfall. Whoosh, whoosh. Tons of water pouring down directly on your head, much like being constantly bombarded by negative thoughts. The instinct might be to try to turn off that waterfall. But this is hopeless, right? And it's an impossible task. We can't turn off real natural waterfalls. So it takes skill to realize that you don't have to stand in that spot where tons of water are coming down on your head. Simply take a few steps back or move behind the waterfall, and you can find refuge beneath an overhang where you can observe that powerful cascade of water without being consumed by it. You can learn to lean back from your experience and observe it without getting lost in it. And that's a really great analogy for thoughts. We don't have to have them pounding us again and again. We can notice them, notice what's going on, step back from it. But it takes practice. And that's why if you can start weaving regular mindfulness in your life and start practicing it, you can have these benefits. And I can't tell you if you'll have the benefits in a month or 2 months. You're going to have an article coming up that says you need to practice to get some benefits. It takes some months, but the research shows that 15 minutes a day, 4 or 5 times a week to start noticing the benefits. That's what some research says. All right, so I'm going to stop here today.